Ya Hüseyin, Ya Hüseyin, Ya Hüseyin. Sallallahu aleyke ya Resulallah ve ala ehli beytikel mazlumin. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة غريب مظلوم كربلاء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Yesterday we began with reciting a hadith by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. A hadith that was written to his companions. And we said that there are different types of hadiths that are narrated or told to us by the Imams. Some of the hadiths were told by the Imams orally, verbally. They told them to their companions, and their companions told other companions, and that's how we got it. That's how we received them. Another category of ahadith are the ahadith that the Imams wrote to their companions. And there's a collection of these. And this hadith that I'm going over throughout these 10 nights is one of those hadiths that were written. It's attributed to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. We're doing just a little quick recap for those who were not here last night. He wrote it to his companions and he gave them instructions to go over this hadith together, to study it, to contemplate it, to learn it, and to apply it in their lives. So it gives us an idea of what this hadith is going to be talking about. The Imam, whatever he wrote in this letter to them, must be something of importance in our daily lives. If it wasn't, he wouldn't ask them to repeatedly revisit and read this over and over again. So when we read it, we're able to understand what the core message of religion is. It's true that we understand that religion is composed of different aspects. One aspect of religion is obeying certain laws, right? Praying, fasting, not eating pork, not drinking alcohol, going to Hajj in Mecca. This is an aspect of religion. It's called the legal aspect of religion. But it's not the complete picture of religion. This is one part of it. A lot of us have a misunderstanding thinking that religion means that I obey the law of God. I obey what He asked me to do. I perform what He told me to do. And I stay away from what He told me not to do. And if I do this, then I'm following religion. But this is a misconception. And throughout history, there was a period of time when the Muslims began thinking this way. Before, during the Prophet's lifetime and the Imam's lifetime, at the beginning, the first 3 or 4 Imams, the Muslims had a different idea of what Islam was. Religion to them was more a way of life. Religion to them was a connection to their Creator, the relationship between them and themselves, and the relationship between them and God, and the relationship between them and society. At some period in time where certain, let's say, governors began spreading around the world who claimed to be Islamic, they began building court systems throughout the Islamic world. And when they put court systems, the scholars, the jurists, the legal aspect of Islam began taking over. And they began controlling what Islam is and the definition of Islam. And from there on, Islam became legality, legal laws. And that became the picture until this day. Many people still think that Islam means haram or halal. They see a sheikh, a scholar, they talk about Islam, the first thing that comes to my mind or their mind is Islam means this is haram and that's halal. And any religion, any question they have about Islam or about God always almost fits into one of these categories. Is it haram to do this? Is it halal to do that? Is this haram? Is that halal? And religion became limited and confined to this small area, which during the Prophet's time was a very limited area. Haram and halal give you the boundaries of religion. They say, here's the border. You can't cross this line, you can't cross that line. But within these two lines is what religion is. It's discovering who we really are. Our connection with our Creator, our connection with ourselves. Whoever knows his self knows his Lord, the Prophet ﷺ says. There's an emphasis on discovering who we are. We come to this world, and as we grow up, we start having questions. Every human being has these questions. If you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, you go through questions in your mind. What am I doing here? Who am I? A lot of us, at some point in our life, we sit down and we question, try to figure out who we are. Did you ever think about that? How do I know that I am I? How am I aware of myself? What am I doing here? How did this whole thing come out of nowhere? How is there life in the first place? A lot of us, I'm sure, have looked at the James Webb Telescope image that NASA released. Millions and millions of galaxies. If you look into that, really, we're nothing in that picture. Yet here we are, we're living, we have lives, we have a world, we have human beings, we have relationships, we build civilizations on this little thing that's called Earth that is really nothing compared to how large and vast this universe is. Questions people begin asking. How did this come to be? Why are there some things rather than nothings? So religion comes to try to give us an answer to these questions. It doesn't ignore other parts of life. It tells us, as human beings, you have to organize your life. You have to advance scientifically. You have to move forward scientifically. But this is not the objective of living. The objective of living is to find out who you are and to discover who your Lord is. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. The scholars divide the knowledge that we can acquire into two categories. They say there are two types of knowledge that we can acquire, that we can gain. The first category is conceptual knowledge. And this is what most of us deal with. Conceptual knowledge is almost everything that we collect as data in our lives. When I look at the ceiling, when I look at this light, when I'm hearing your voices, all of this knowledge that I'm getting is something that my mind is perceiving. The first gateway to ourselves is our senses. The first connection I have to the world is my senses, right? I look with my eyes, I see an image. I hear a sound with my ears. I taste, I smell, and I touch and I feel. This is the first way to acquire knowledge, is through our senses. I look at a tree, the image of the tree comes to my mind. Now I know there's a tree. I look at the microphone, an image of the microphone comes to my mind. Now I know there's a microphone. Our connection from the inside of us to the outside is the senses. Now we ask a question. Is the sensual knowledge, the knowledge of the senses, is that the ultimate knowledge, or are there other types of knowledge that we have are capable of having as human beings? Well, we ask ourselves these questions, let's try to find an answer. I look at a flower. This flower has a scent as well. I look at it, I admire it, I smell it, and I say, what a beautiful flower. That feeling of beauty, is it from my senses or is it from something other than my senses? Is there something called beauty that came into me and made me feel the beauty? Or did my eyes only see the shape of the flower and my nose smell the scent of the flower? But inside of me, there was something that felt beauty and joy. That's not the senses. After asking these questions, you find your parents, for example, someone you love. As soon as you see them, you become excited. Is excitement something that my senses gave me? Or is excitement something that I found inside of me? Something inside gave me that feeling. Well, this question and this answer made the scholars divide knowledge into two. One of them is what I get from my senses, and that's the outside world. And there's another world that's inside of me. And this is what I feel. This is the real world that I know everything outside from. So what religion comes and tries to do is it tries to make us focus on this inner world, not ignoring the outside. The outside is very important. God had created this world for a reason and put us here for a reason. We can't say that science is not important, other types of knowledge is not important. But what we say is this is not the ultimate objective in life. When we live as human beings, when the Prophet comes and the Quran as the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet, he tells the people to listen to the Prophet when he calls them to things that make them live, that enliven them. لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. The Prophet is calling us to things that give us life, things that make us alive, things that make us live a fulfilled life. The biggest complaint that people have nowadays is that they feel that their lives are empty. A lot of people suffer from mental health issues. A lot of people suffer from depression. A lot of people don't know the purpose of their life. What do they resort to? They either resort to medications or pills that numbs them down to a certain degree. A lot of them find alternative methods. They go to meditate. They search for things, and I know a lot of friends that don't believe in God and don't have, religion as part of their life, but they meditate because meditation makes them feel better. But it's a temporary solution, because meditation, it might make you feel better, but it's not taking you anywhere. And what Islam tries to do is it tries to take you on a journey. You don't just feel better and continue life. No, you progress spiritually in your life. We're moving towards something. This is a journey that we're having in this life. God gave us this short life in this world in order for us to be able to build ourselves, improve ourselves, and then get a better level for ourselves in the hereafter and in this world. Muharram, for example, is one of those stations that we use. You can imagine our life as a journey. This whole year is a journey, and Muharram is a stop. It's a rest stop. You stop, you gain provisions, you pick up your food, your drinks, you take a shower, you clean yourself, you refresh your mind, refresh your soul, you regain your energy, and you continue your life. These majalis, the purpose of them is this exactly. Why do we come here as an individual? What makes us come here and gather here? Is to be able to remind ourselves, because when we leave here and we go and continue our lives outside of this world, we become so occupied again. We wake up in the morning, we have jobs, we have bills to pay, we have friends to talk to, we have phones to check, we have news to read, we have social media to go through, a lot of things to catch up with. We're always busy with that. We forget ourselves. And then we wonder, what's going on with us? Why aren't we happy? Why are we suffering? I have a house, I have a family, I have a car, I have a job, I go to school, I do everything. When in the world there are a lot of people that don't have 1% of what we have, yet we're not happy. So what is happiness? Why do people in the first world countries suffer a lot from depression? What's missing in their lives? They've been given everything. more than what we really need as human beings. As a human being, all we need is something to eat. If you think about it really objectively, our bodies have to grow and survive, so we need food and water. And we need shelter just so that the storms and the wind and the elements don't kill us, and the animals don't attack us. And we need some clothing as well to protect us as well from the weather. And that's all we need basically, right? Some family, some friends, some social relations. We don't need anything more than that. Yet here in the US, for example, we live a luxurious lifestyle. We have so much more than what we actually need, yet we never seem to be happy. So what is this reason for sadness? What is this reason for depression? Well, religion has been talking about this ever since the beginning of God sending messengers, telling people, look guys, you're focusing on the outside element of things. You're not focusing on the inside. Inside of you is what you have to be looking towards, not outside. Outside doesn't give you happiness. If you're calm from the inside, then you live a happy life on the outside. But if you have everything on the outside and nothing on the inside, then you're never going to be happy, because happiness can't be found outside of you. Happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of spirituality. This is what I have to be looking for. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the senses that we have are the gateways to the soul. It's very important for us to use these senses to gain images and forms and sounds and tastes. But what we have to do is, we shouldn't stop at that level. We take what the senses give us, and then we delve deeply into them. If you look at the James Webb Telescope image, if you take a quick look at it, you're going through the feed, you find the image and say, wow, this is so amazing. Millions and millions and millions of galaxies and stars, and just unbelievable. And then you put a like, you scroll up, and you move on to the next image and the meme, and you put a like, and you comment, and you move on. So you see something nice, you enjoy it for a second, then you move on, right? Now, this level of life is a superficial type of life. We're limiting ourselves to little dosages of happiness and goodness. What we have to do is, we have to be like those people who stop at that image and zoom into it and study it and contemplate it and try to understand the deeper meaning of things. So when I look at a flower, for example, let's say Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he looks at a flower, he doesn't see the flower as I see it. I might see a nice color, a nice shape, but when the Imam looks at it, he can see the divine, he can see God in that flower, because he's looking at it in such a deep way. Well, how does he look at it in a deep way? Well, how did the telescope, the James Webb Telescope, get such a deep image? Because it has mirrors, right? These mirrors were able to get the light, and from that they were able to get this very deep image. And we can think of our souls as those mirrors as well. The cleaner the mirrors are, the deeper of an image that we can get of God. The more dust, and they were talking about the telescope being hit and damaged, and they can't get as clear as a picture anymore because the mirrors have been damaged or some dust came on them. It covers it up, blocks some of the light rays, and you don't get a crystal clear image anymore. Our souls are like those mirrors, as our hadith mentioned. If you purify your inside, you clean it up, the divine is always there. God is always there. God is not something that is not there and I have to find him and put him inside of me. God is always there. The whole world of existence of God is inside our souls. It's not something that we have to go searching for. What we have to do is we have to clean those internal mirrors that we have. The ones that we've covered up with so much dust and so much damage. Once we do that, we gain an insight into the spiritual world and begin understanding ourselves. We start looking at objects in a much more profound and deep way. Life begins to have a deeper meaning. The people who contemplate If you look at their social relations with their friends and their family, they usually have a better relationship with their friends and their family because they've understood a deeper sense of life. Those people who just scroll through feeds and likes and keep on going, having enough with the 5-second satisfaction, if you look at their friendships, it's a very shallow type of friendship. Look at their relationship with their family members, a very shallow type of relationship. So there's a direct effect between your contemplation and how deep of a person you are and the relationship that you have with other people. The deeper of a contemplator you are, the stronger your friendship with other people is, because friendship to you is not just knowing somebody anymore. No, you've contemplated it, you've thought about it, you've become a deep individual. Friendship means that you sacrifice for that individual. That's why when we read the ahadith and we read the teachings of the imams, we find that they were really deep individuals. When the imam said that your friend is someone who can put his hand in your pocket and take the money, and you don't say anything to them, and you don't feel like you're one with them. The imam obviously has a very deep concept of friendship. Why? Because the imam is a very deep individual. If he was shallow, he can't give us these. So this is something that we have to work on. This is something that we have to understand. If you want to progress in life, live a much more fulfilling and happier life, the first thing that we have to do is that we have to clean ourselves inside and remove all the clutter and dust that is covering us. How do we do that? Inshallah, going through this letter, there are 5 or 6 important points that we can go through throughout the next nights that will help us maybe applying them and achieving the status. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The first thing that the Imam wants to mention in this letter, or that we're going to go through, is related to silence. But before going into that, tomorrow I want to speak about this idea of sacred space. Basically creating an area at home that is specifically made for us to practice this inner contemplation. This is going to be the topic of tomorrow, inshallah. Today, I just wanted to introduce the idea of us understanding that if we want to live a more fulfilling life, and we want more meaning in our life, then we have to begin looking inwardly and stop focusing on the outside only. If this is what we want, and this is what the Prophet and the Imams wanted from us, then we have to not only come here and listen, but also go home and apply what we're hearing. Just like the Imam told them in the letter, that you study this letter and you apply it in your life. The application is very important. Without application, you're not going to get anywhere. You could sit here and listen to this from now till the end of the year. It won't change you. It'll just be a sound that your senses pick up. It goes in your mind, collects data and information, and it stays that way. You just, add it to your hard drive in the brain. If you want it to change you, you have to apply this in your life. So this was the idea that I wanted to share with you today, inshallah. And tomorrow we'll move on to sacred space, how to begin maybe creating an area in our home that would help us start with this and start applying it. And then after that, we can talk about what the Imam gives as instructions to do in that area in order for us to change ourselves. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.